Welcome back, runners. We are tackling the hot topic today of the safe pocket. If you're not familiar with other extraction shooters or haven't seen what they said about Marathon, extraction shooters sometimes give you what is called a safe pocket, and you can put items into said pocket, and if you die, you still keep them if you die. And when you get back to the lobby, you'll still have that item in your safe pocket. Games like ARC Raiders only give you a safe pocket on like custom kits when you actually bring gear in, and then on your free kits you get no safe pocket, so it changes how you might use them. There are also games like ARC Raiders and Tarkov, you might have different sized safe pockets, so sometimes you can only bring a single item in, sometimes you can have multiple items in there, sometimes you can have large items there, sometimes you can have weapons in there, sometimes you don't have weapons in there. So there's a whole like balancing thing around safe pockets too. We know for Marathon, at least at launch, there will be no safe pockets. I covered this in a previous interview with Joe. I didn't do the interview, I read the interview. I'll leave them all those links down below. And so we know that there's not going to be a safe pocket on release, but they will monitor it. And so I thought this would be a great conversation from all my experience playing extraction shooters, the pros and cons of safe pockets. Because I have seen people just say, oh, like, why does it matter? Like, throw people a bone, just put a safe pocket in. And I will argue that safe pockets need to be incredibly balanced to make sure people don't abuse them. And we've seen lots of examples of them completely and utterly changing how people play ARC Raiders with safe pockets. And depending on which side you sit, it actually is pros and cons. Cool. First thing that I wanted to talk about before even the pros and cons are quest items. And I can't confirm all of this, and I definitely haven't been getting NDA information from Twitch chats, but my understanding is some quest items you can deposit into something called a decon, a deconstruction terminal, and it will send it back to space. It will send it back to the lobby. So it technically acts like a safe pocket where you can deposit things, but I'm pretty sure it makes noise. You have to go to this place to do it. So you could get, ambushed trying to do that anyway. So it's not a guaranteed, but it's kind of like a mechanism already involved in it. And I believe some quest items, I think they're called contracts, when you're doing the faction stuff and I guess the story stuff, you might have to deposit things there. But I also believe sometimes you need to find an item and extract with it, right? So you won't have a pocket to put it in. You actually have to get out of the game and be successful to like progress some of the story, I think. And I have been told there are some contracts, some quests that only one team can complete on the map. And now, it was a bit hard to decipher all this, and so we have to wait and see. But I think it's interesting to consider that there could be some quest items that will slow your progression if you can't get a certain item and you can't be successful getting out of the raid. There are other games that are like this. For example, Escape from Tarkov has a really early quest where you have to collect a pocket watch, and there's only a single pocket watch on the map. And if you don't get there quick and you don't fight everyone to get it, you just don't progress that quest line. And you kind of need it to unlock the rest of the quest, okay? Right, the pros of safe pockets. Of course, the biggest pro is it takes the sting out of losing. Like you get a little prize to take back home. It's like, here, you lost everything, but, and obviously you would put the most valuable thing in there, and so it does prevent you, getting down to $0. In games like Escape from Tarkov, you could quite literally be a broke boy and have no money, can't take kits in, and they have limitations on how many free kits you can take in too. I don't think that's going to be the issue with Marathon, because you could just run rooks, and that's kind of how Rook makes up for no safe pocket. Is like, if you're getting real broke, you're going to have to start doing Rook runs without risk and try to get some cash back out. But overall, a pro is, oh, I died, but I kept that one thing I'm looking for. I think the biggest pro in something like Marathon with build crafting is finding the cores and the implants with the stats that you want. I think that's my biggest unknown right now, is like, how easy or hard is it to find, I can't remember what the gold tier is. Is it deluxe? No, I think that's blue. Whatever the highest rarity core is, like if you find a high rarity core, that would be something that I would want to put into a safe pocket. And it might be on like a different runner. So be like, oh, okay, I'm not playing Destroyer, but I found a Destroyer core. Let's pocket this, and I can like start slowly making a build for a destroyer, then when I play it, I've got all stuff, right? So it takes a bit of the sting out of losing everything, and it can allow you to farm certain things that have like a low percentage drop rate. That's pretty much what you use safe pockets for, is to farm things that have a low percentage drop rate. A good example of this is in ARC Raiders. Blueprints have like a really low percentage drop rate. They only drop during certain times and certain events. Like, for example, the Tempest blueprint is a really good gun. It only drops on night raids on certain maps, and they're only available for an hour, right? So the game can be really, really difficult, but if you have a safe pocket and you get lucky, then you can like farm it. And that's kind of the nice thing about safe pockets. Sometimes you don't always want to be sweating. You want to, like, you know what? It's like Destiny. Like, I just want to get on. I want to see if I can get this thing. I want to farm destruction, just run a course. I'm going to run here, see if I can find the cause. And not take any risk, okay? That could also be a con, but it's also, in my opinion, like a pro for games that can be really tense. Is like sometimes you don't always want to be in really intense engagements. You want to do something with a little bit less risk. Safe pockets provide that opportunity. Especially something like Marathon, which a lot of reports are saying like it's very resource intensive. The economy is pretty stingy. Like, you're probably going to run out of meds. You're going to run out of shield recharges. You're going to run out of some of those things. So having a safe pocket is a way that you're not completely gone broke after every run. Another pro might be that people stay longer in the match. Once you find something, if it's really valuable and you have a safe pocket, you put it in the safe pocket, and then you can keep playing the match, do other quests, do other things. If there's no safe pocket, once you got that thing, you may be like, you know what, guys, I want to get out. I've finally got this core that I want. I want to get out so I don't lose it, because I want to make a build for Vandal, right? See you later. Let's get out. So a pro could be that encourages people to stick on the map a little bit longer. Another pro could be, and depends if you see this as a pro or a con, but it does encourage PvE. For example, in ARC Raiders, they have a big boss, Matriarch and the Queen. And essentially, there are PvE lobbies where everyone works together. And I think one of the reasons why you don't see as many betrayals, you see some, but not a lot, is that once someone is looting something, you can guarantee that the really high value item is shoved firmly into their safe pocket, and that you're not going to get it. So there's no point in shooting them. In Marathon, there's always going to be a reason to shoot someone, because they're not going to be able to save anything. You want to get their entirety of their loot. So it depends on how much you like PvP. And I imagine if you're going to play Marathon, you got to be pretty keen on it. But I would say oppositely, it kind of would be nice for there to be some PvE elements in Marathon. Everyone's going to criticize me here. I'm not against PvE. I'm against removing PvP, right? I do hope there are things that we work together with runners to solve, especially like in solos. I think that could be really fun. And Safe Pockets does encourage that a little bit more, because there's less incentive to PvP. Finally, I think Safe Pockets give Bungie a little bit of license to make drop rates really difficult. Whereas for example, I think the blueprint drop rate in ARC Raiders is way too low if there were no safe pockets. People would just be giving up. It's like, there's no point doing this. So having safe pockets give people a real achievable goal. They know, if I do this long enough, eventually I'll get the hit and I can put it in a safe pocket and get out. Whereas there's no real guarantee without a safe pocket. All right, the cons of the safe pockets. People will say that it ruins the intensity or the tension of the match. And a really good example of this is also ARC Raiders. If you're on a free kit and you have no safe pocket, and you find a Tempest blueprint or a Wolfpack blueprint, some of the best gear in the game, your heart starts racing and you're like, I need to get out. And it is probably the highest high and the lowest low of extraction shooters is finding that. And so I'm expecting Marathon is going to have really high highs and really low lows if you find really good stuff and there's no safe pocket. And having a safe pocket will actually remove the high highs and the low lows. The reason against having safe pockets is it does create very like meta gameplay styles. For example, the only way that I was going to get a Tempest blueprint was selecting a custom gear kit but not putting on a shield, not putting on weapons, not putting on bullets, and what you would call a naked run with literally nothing, and you run to the highest loot location and you see if you get the blueprint, and if you don't get it, you just click surrender, you die, and you reload the game. And so it creates like gameplay loops like that. Like if you want to farm, the best way to farm is to just basically go with no gear and put stuff in your safe pocket. And that's been true for other games like Tarkov as well. When you're like after something very specific, you just like keep a safe pocket and run through the match. You could also do this for like quests. So for example, if you need to get a quest item, you can just put it in your safe pocket and then just surrender. Like you don't need to extract with it. Of course, there's all like potential balancing changes you can introduce. Like for example, you can make quest items not go into safe pockets. You can make quest items have to be deposited at decon terminals. You can make quest items, you know, different ways of doing it, but just it is also like a way that the safe pocket needs to be balanced. You can have people just trying to speedrun their quests, upgrade their vendors, and then, you know, maybe they have an advantage rather than playing as probably what is intended, which is surviving and exfilling. PvP is more rewarding without safe pockets. There's always likely the case when you play something like ARC Raiders, like the most valuable stuff is in their safe pockets. And so when you kill someone, they might not have, they just have a bunch of scraps on them. And you're not really rewarded for all the effort and all the resources you use for the PvP. I imagine in Marathon with no safe pocket, every time you kill someone, you're going to find all their best stuff that they've looted. And I think this kind of fits the scarcity of loot items. And I think that's probably why they didn't put a safe pocket in. They're going to make loot scarce on the map and try to encourage people to take out each other to get that loot. You don't want a safe pocket. You want to be rewarded for winning the battle and you get your loot once you destroy them. Another thing that happens in ARC Raiders is people will abuse like legendary utility items. So for example, there is something called a snap hook, which is a grapple hook, which is incredibly powerful. It's a legendary item. It allows you to zip all over the place and do really good flanking maneuvers. And of course, people worked out how to basically put that in their butts, put that in their safe pocket mid-flight, so they could use it to maneuver without any risk. So if they died while doing it, they would keep their snap hook. I don't know what, if there is an equivalent to something like that in Marathon. Obviously there's already a class that has like a grapple hook, but do you know what I mean? Like if there is a high tier utility item that people could abuse, you 100% know they would be abusing it and putting it back into the safe pocket. Finally, I think a reason for not having safe pockets is it just causes another whole balancing issue. So for example, if they wanted to add a backpack with a safe pocket, now you have to basically balance all the backpacks around the idea that one of them gives you a safe pocket. And ARC Raiders has this system, they're called augments, and they give you unique abilities, very similar to Marathon, where a backpack might increase your healing, you know, when you're using stims and that. But what happened in ARC Raiders is pretty much the most used augment has a really good perk and the most safe pockets. And so it is a very powerful like perk that you have to balance around. And I think if they came out with a backpack that had a safe pocket, I would probably think that might be the best backpack almost immediately. Right, that is my thoughts, the pros and cons of safe pockets and extraction shooters with an application to Marathon. Interested to see how it's going to go. I think it's the right call for the moment. I'll see if I'm complaining about being completely broke after the first week. And if it's really, really hard, then maybe there'll be a push for safe pockets. But I do kind of agree with Bungie's approach here. I think it is a really tough topic. It's something that should be given a lot of consideration. I hope they've played games like ARC Raiders and see how safe pockets can really impact like how people are playing the game and playing them in different ways, and how that can be good and bad. It is sometimes nice going in with risk-free runs to farm stuff, but it's also like when everyone's doing it, it can get a bit stale too. All right, a like and a comment, greatly appreciate it. We are doing a playthrough of the classic Marathon on stream. I'll leave the link down below. I'll make the videos go public too. Yes, I'm gonna do some more videos. All right, bye-bye.